Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Alexander, virtually creepy, I know. Today we're going to talk about just a few reminders on how to write a rhetorical analysis. I know you thought that the rhetorical analysis paper was dead in the grave, but it's come back to haunt you. Wah ha ha ha. Because we still haven't taken the test yet, and you'll have to write a rhetorical analysis. So here are a few reminders for you. One, you need to have clear structure. Good writing does not exist without structure. So in your intro, all you need to do is answer the prompt. Write your thesis statement. If you want to give a warm-up sentence, that's fine, but no more than one sentence should be spent warming up the reader. Just get right into your thesis statement that answers the prompt. Then in each body paragraph, you're going to tackle a strategy. So let's say you chose metaphor, alliteration, and epistrophe. Each paragraph would be dedicated to a strategy. You could also walk the reader through the choices as they occur. So first the author does this, then that, then this. Either way works, but just to simplify, here is the most straightforward structure you can use. So first you say what is going on stylistically. So you find the metaphor quotes and explain what is happening. The author uses metaphor. Then you explain why the author is using metaphor. What's the purpose? How does it affect the audience? Thinking of the post-it pad. And then finally explain how that stylistic choice does what the author wants it to do. Your conclusion only needs to be a short paragraph. So just to review, your thesis statement is the only thing you need in your intro. Make sure it answers the prompt. An essay that doesn't answer the prompt will receive a 5 or lower. Then each body paragraph should read what is going on, why is it going on, and how does what the author's doing affect the audience the way the author wants it to. And then finally, just one short wrap-up paragraph. As far as style goes, remember we don't use first or second person. So there's no I, me, my, you, your, yours, just formal third person. I want to see you infusing beautiful stylistic choices into your own writing, so the infusion of alliteration and anaphora, antithesis. Remember to vary your sentence structure, so you have some loose, some periodic sentences, semicolon, the double dash, just play with your construction. And last but not least, I'm going to beg that you take time to proofread your essay. When you're handwriting it, feel free to cross things out, to write over your cross-outs, whatever you need to do, but make sure that you take time to do this. So let's look at a sample 9 as well as a prompt, and then you can get to work on your own. So here's the prompt from the 2004 essay. The passage below is an excerpt from a letter written by the 18th century author Lord Chesterfield to his young son who is traveling far from home. Read the passage carefully. Then, in a well-written essay, analyze how the rhetorical strategies that Chesterfield uses reveal his own values. So, make sure you read that very carefully. They're trying to trick you. How do the choices he makes stylistically show what he really believes? Okay, so let's read that with that in mind. Dear boy, though I employ so much of my time in writing to you, I confess I have often my doubts whether it is to any purpose. I know how unwelcome advice generally is. I know that those who want it most like it and follow it least. And I know, too, that the advice of parents more particularly is ascribed to the moroseness and the imperiousness or the garrulity of old age. But then, on the other hand, I flatter myself that as your own reason, though too young as yet to suggest much to you of itself, is however strong enough to enable you both to judge of and receive plain truths. I flatter myself, I say, that your own reason, young as it is, must tell you that I can have no interest but yours in the advice I give you, and that consequently you will at least weigh and consider it well, in which case some of it will, I hope, have its effect. Do not think that I mean to dictate as a parent. I only mean to advise you as a friend, and an indulgent one too. And do not apprehend that I mean to check your pleasures, of which, on the contrary, I only desire to be the guide, not the censor. Let my experience supply your want of it, and clear your way, in the progress of your youth, of those thorns and briars which scratched and disfigured me in the course of mine. I do not, therefore, so much as hint to you how absolutely dependent you are upon me, that you neither have nor can have a shilling in the world but from me, and that as I have no womanish weakness for your person, your merit must and will be the only measure of my kindness. I say I do not hint these things to you because I am convinced that you will act right upon more noble and generous principles. I mean for the sake of doing right and out of affection and gratitude to me. I have so often recommended to you attention and application to whatever you learn, that I do not mention them now as duties, but I point them out to you as conductive, nay, absolutely necessary to your pleasures. For can there be a greater pleasure than to be universally allowed to excel those of one's own age and manner of life? And consequently, can there be anything more mortifying than to be excelled by them? In this latter case, your shame and regret must be greater, than anybody's, because everybody knows the uncommon care which has been taken of your education, and the opportunities you have had of knowing more than others of your age. I do not confine the application which I recommend singly to the view and emulation of excelling others, though that is very sensible pleasure and very warrantable pride. But I mean likewise to excel in the thing itself. For in my mind, one may as well not know a thing at all as know it but imperfectly. To know a little of anything gives neither satisfaction nor credit, but often brings disgrace or ridicule. Yee! What? Okay, so obviously you would go back and read it a second time, the first time just for understanding, the second time for strategies. So let's take a look at what a student did on this to earn a 9. Okay, here we go. Lord Chesterfield's letter to his son is by no means the vessel for simple or good-intentioned advice that Chesterfield would pretend it is. Veiled in its brief paragraphs are constant reminders to his son of his obligations and responsibilities, for example, as per to his education. But within these middle schoolers, I'm telling you. But within these subtle reminders, one can clearly see Chesterfield's own morals and values, though through strategies of understatement, contradiction, rhetorical questions, and even simple guilt, Chesterfield leaves no doubt in his son's mind what this letter is really about. So here are the strategies I'm going to analyze, and I will later tell you what it's really about in my body paragraphs. The first paragraph of the letter is riddled with not too subtle understatement. Chesterfield, if taken literally, spends the first 17 lines discrediting his own opinion and the value of his morals. He uses his first paragraph as a means to set up the later strategies of rhetorical, supposedly harmless questions, as he feigns insignificance, as in lines 5 through 7, where he acknowledges the common belief that parental advice is nothing more than the moroseness of old age. Chesterfield uses harmless syntax in this paragraph by framing his sentences cordially and by complimenting his son at every turn, as in lines 8 through 12, where he seems to idly state his faith in his son's ability to discern good advice, while clearly meaning that his advice is the best to receive. In this sense, Chesterfield also uses a rhetoric of constant contradiction. The contradictory attitude does not stop once Chesterfield stops the false compliments. He clearly threatens in lines 25 to 34 that his son would have no means in life were he to disregard his father's opinion. I do not, therefore, so much as hint to you how absolutely dependent you are upon me, Chesterfield writes, although one can imagine it is said through a false smile. This opens the way for him to introduce the beliefs that his son is obviously obligated to follow, beliefs his father pretends to only vaguely believe. Having set up his son to pay attention through these threats and fake pleasantries, Chesterfield reveals the true purpose of his letter in the second paragraph. Here there are no more contradictions hiding intimidation, but rhetorical questions with obviously implied answers. He writes in lines 39 through 41 that there is no greater pleasure than to be universally allowed to excel those of one's own age and manner of life. A simple translation of this easily inferred from its context. You had better not waste your opportunities, son. Chesterfield simplifies further in lines 44 through 47, where he says straightforwardly that his son has been given more opportunities than most, and he had better make use of them. This semi-intimidation can be used to identify one of Chesterfield's own values. Do not waste what others have provided for you. In the second paragraph, he also similarly reveals that whenever possible, one should excel others, again by understanding its importance and nearly brushing it aside, and that, even more importantly, one should not make only half attempts at anything one strives to learn. He says quite clearly in lines 32 to 3 that one may as well not know a thing at all, as know it but imperfectly. In this seemingly simple letter, Chesterfield conveys not only the fate of his son, should he ignore the letter, but also those morals Chesterfield holds most dear. By contradicting himself with politeness and asking provocative questions and even using sarcastic syntax, Chesterfield leaves no doubt as to what he feels. So, in class, you will be writing a rhetorical analysis of how Arthur Miller satirizes the era of McCarthy through his use of rhetoric. So be thinking about this, and as we read, make sure you are looking for the strategies he uses. See you then. Bye.